wherever you are in the different countries, in the different continents, in the different time zones, we extend you a very hearty welcome to be yet another very powerful evening, ladies and gentlemen. Since 25th of March, every day we are rubaru and we come to each other live and share a lot of pedagogies, andragogies, and confluence and a podlock of information. And the entire efforts are like doctors, nurses, paramedical people. They are the warriors similar way. Educators, teachers, counselors, technocrats, and of course the corporate and the visionary and the startups. They all also coming over here. And as a warrior, they also share their information because the entire efforts are today one we have once we have got 185th webinar making education relevant. आइए शिक्षा को प्रासंगिक बनाएं. Global confluence of the intellectuals, research scholars, innovators, skill developers, entrepreneurs, startups, micro, small, and medium enterprise, and of course the employment generators. So, ladies and gentlemen, the new education policy has been announced by the Honorable Prime Minister of India on 29th of July. And after that, the green signal, now it goes to the parliament. It becomes a constitutional identity. And thereafter, once it gets implemented, because once you have declaration of the policy, then adopting the policy, and then thereafter monitoring the policy. So this evening, when we talk about, we have got a very distinguished guest, Mr. Mitul Dikshit, the chairman of Dikshant Chain of Schools. He is joining us. We extend him a very hearty welcome. Along with him, we get 5 international girls every day under women empowerment, and they share the vision after our main speaker gives his vision and his views. Thereafter, we invite them for a minute or two, and they share with us what is the purpose of education, why to go to school, why to go to college, why to get a particular skill, why to get competencies, and what all is happening across. So that is something very interesting what we are sharing. I still recall and I recollect when I look back in 1975, World Tourism Organization being set up in Madrid in Spain, and that point of time, and just 3 days back, today is 29th, on 27th of September, there was a World Tourism Day celebration. And this year, the theme was basically rural tourism. So during my tenure of the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, I've been focusing on cinematic tourism, medical tourism, and with that, NRI tourism. Those are the 3 areas we were taking into consideration. It was a beautiful, wonderful journey. So while extending a hearty welcome to all of you this evening, let's empower the education ecosystem when we get the inferences and inputs from the various sources, resources from world over. Now, ladies and gentlemen, making education relevant. Our chamber, which is spread world over to 149 countries, since 1994, initially in India, we started with the Punjabi Parvasi Divas, and then in 2003, with the then Honorable Prime Minister of India, there was Bharti Parvasi Divas, and the journey is on. Now you have got vibrant Gujarat, vibrant Rajasthan, vibrant Kerala, vibrant Tamil Nadu, vibrant Telangana, vibrant anything, everything is vibrant happening in India. So more than 30 million non-resident Indians and the entire confluence together. We all understand that during this pandemic, the thought processes are affected, business is affected, physical and mental health is affected, and the main part of the universe is 1.86 billion children are at present away from school, colleges, universities, and institutions. But India believes in Vasudev Kutumbakam. The whole world is one family. Global education collaboration. What best we can do with each other? How can we support each other? And this is the new education policy being announced on 29th of July. It's something is wonderful, which I really admire. And our chamber basically sends the salutations to the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Education Minister of India, and the entire ecosystem of education in India. Imagine from 6th standard onward, children will be able to do coding now. there is a vocational, there is a skill, there is a competency, there's a visit to the corporate, and then at the same time, now the science student can take music, and that's why Asha Bhosle ji the other day, she complimented the government of India. And the child who is taking a commerce as a subject and very serious subject, and they can also take fashion designing as a hobby, as a subject, and that will be counted towards your sports. That will be an integral subject now as one of the main subject, not as an extracurricular activity. Now, 149 countries, the research which we have carried out synthesized our chamber. The water crisis is going to be the next tragedy and a strategy where we got to think of how to save every drop of water. Because water conservation is very important, ladies and gentlemen. World is going to have lots of crises, lots of misunderstanding, and there could be a lots of problem world over if we do not save every drop of water. Women empowerment is also very important when we have to take into consideration. When you educate a male member, you educate individual. But when you educate a female child, you educate subsequent, you do not know how many generations. That all has to be taken into consideration and worked out. And over here, ladies and gentlemen, our chamber from morning 9 o'clock till evening 9 o'clock, right from Canada, when we come to United States, Latin American countries, European Union, then moving from there, we go to Central Asia, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, coming to South Asia, right, starting from Afghanistan to Bhutan to Nepal to Sri Lanka to Maldives, and going to ASEAN region, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, Brunei, all the 10 countries over there, 650 million population. Going a little further down, when you go to Korea, when you go to Taiwan, when you go to Japan, and about 7 different cities, people join us. It's around 10 o'clock, 10:15, 10:30, different time zones when I'm talking about Sapporo, Hokkaido, Kobe, Kyoto, Fukuoka, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Yokohama, Tokyo, all the places people join us. Hearty welcome to each one of you. Those are joining us from Moscow, Dobre Večer, Dragi, Instituta Padalam, Turizma, I Upravlenia, Bureau Potishetsu. Those are joining us from Japan, Shivasenara Tiltatako, Shivasenara Taido, the Shimmiso, और उस सारी जर्नी के बाद हम आपको भारत में लेके आते हैं, उस देश में लेकर आते हैं जहां है प्रीत, जहां की रीत सदा, मैं गीत वहां के गाता हूं, भारत का रहने वाला हूं, भारत की बात सुनाता हूं. 30 million Indians, those are abroad in different countries. We are proud of you. The FDI, the FII, the knowledge, the skill, the competency, the networking, the technology, what all you're getting to India, it's remarkable for all the people in India. So ladies and gentlemen, our chamber, right from morning 9 o'clock till evening 9 o'clock, 12 hours, we come live every day. And you would be so happy to know, in Mongolia, our chamber every day is giving empowerment to teachers and youth. We are going to Central Asia. People who speak Spanish language, we are reaching in Peru, Argentina, Chile, Venezuela, Costa Rica, all the country, Brazil, wherever our chamber representatives, advisors, and the presidents are there, they all are there, 150 countries every day. We are reaching across, ladies and gentlemen, hand-holding Vasudev Kutumbakam. Earlier, this program used to be at 7 p.m., but now on the popular demand and the voting which has been done world over, and particularly from the Middle East and India, because people, those are joining from Saudi Arabia, those are joining us from Doha, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, Dubai, you know, all the people, those have joined, they requested that we should have this program at 5 p.m. because 7:30 you have got your IPL match that will go till November, and then the winters would set in. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope so this time will remain permanent. That is 5 to 6 p.m. We work out this webinar every day. Friday evening, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have got youth empowerment strategies. And Friday evening, you get about 500 million plus people from world over. What is Lord Buddha's teaching relevance in today's education system? Venerable Dr. Dhammapiyaji, the Secretary General of the International Buddhist Confederation from the world over, and Dr. Christy Chang from Taiwan, all of them together with their speakers and with their celebrities, they come together. And Saturday evening, we go to Vellore Mutt, we go to Boston, we go to Chicago, we go to New York, we go to Ontario downtown, we go to British Columbia, we go to Melbourne, we go to Adelaide, we go to Brisbane and Calf Harbour, wherever you can talk about, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, Sri Lanka also and ASEAN also. We talk quite a bit about it, and that is Swami Vivekananda's. What did he convey to the whole world? And do recollect 11th of September 1893, almost 127 years back, that voice still echoes our ears till date. Sisters and brothers of the universe. And ladies and gentlemen, everybody stood on their seats in America, in Chicago. So last week, last Saturday, we had the head of the Swami Vivekananda's foundation right from Chicago who spoke to us. And next week you have got from, just wait for coming Saturday, you will have from the New York. So arise, awake, stop not till the goal is reached. And then comes Saturday late evening, you have got yoga, meditation, naturopathy, you have got organic, you have got a nutrition, whatsoever you can think of. Think positive, talk positive, live positive, be happy, make world happy. And that is the philosophy what the chamber has got. And then comes Sunday morning, all the way from the University of Burbank, that is the Woodbury University, Professor Satinder Dhiman. He comes from California, Los Angeles, live, 9:30 to 11. And thereafter, we take you to Man Ki Baat of Srimad, that is Shri Narendra Modi ji, the Honorable Prime Minister of India. So, ladies and gentlemen, over here we talk about Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and we talk about 10 principal Upanishads of India and their relevance in today's education system, whether school education or higher education or technical education or management education or skill or competency, whatever is there. And then comes Sunday evening at 3 o'clock. We all go to India ASEAN with the Honorable Prime Minister's vision. Our chamber for the last 6 years, we are working very, very innovatively, intensively, and deeply in all the 8 states to whom the Honorable Prime Minister of India calls as a Ashta Lakshmi, right from Tripura, Manipur, Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram. All the 8 states when we talk about, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful people over there, beautiful cuisine, art, craft, culture, handicraft. We take you across to 650 million population, and that is 10 ASEAN countries. It's education, collaboration, skills, tourism, research, innovation, wellness, micro, small, and medium enterprise. And of course, the focus remains Northeast India. Now, why education? The purpose of education. And thereafter, if the purpose of education is understood, if you want to become an entrepreneur, if you are interested to have a startup or stand up or make in India, assemble in India, whatsoever you think of, the CMD of NSIC under Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise, 5 to 6 p.m. and Sector Skill Council under Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India. We all come together. That is on Sunday evening. So this is the complete canvas. And here is the beautiful picture where you understand what do we do Monday to Sunday. And 2 lakh people every day on the YouTube live joining this particular program and being a part of this particular journey. Now, don't forget Saturday evening, 9:30 p.m. That's not too late also, that's not too early also. Saturday evening, 3rd of October, do join us. Deliberations which will come from the non-resident Indians. You will have a panel discussion from Canada, United States, Latin America, Europe, and they will deliberate about and they will share with us the new education policy 2020 and focuses on the higher education. That is Saturday, 3rd of October 2020, 9:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And they will talk about global best education practices. And thereafter, ladies and gentlemen, 5th of October, 5th of September is being celebrated as India's Teacher Day, coinciding with the birthday of late Radhakrishnan ji. But 5th of October is the United Nations World Teachers Day. 4,000 teachers will join from the world over. School teachers, higher education teachers, technical teachers, management teachers, Everybody from world over will be together in the journey with our chamber on 5th of October from morning 9:30 till 5 p.m. in the evening. We will come live on the YouTube also. We'll be in the webinar also. Today also, I would request all of you, open your YouTube channel, go to Dr. Gulshan Sharma's page, ICSI, and log on and be a part of this particular journey and this particular program so that we all are together. Our chamber from 150 countries, the entire synthesis of the research which we carried out from 25th of March till 20th of September, the new golden triangle, when you talk about it, it is not Delhi, Agra, Jaipur. The B2B is no more business to business. It is going to be termed as back to basics of life. You got to understand there are three basic things you have to take care of. Number one, your basic food. Second, your health. And third part is your thought process. That is your education, earn and learn. So start growing your own vegetables. I have started growing my own organic plantation right on my rooftop, right in my residence. Anywhere I find any place, there is a plantation, plantation and plantation. And there's an organic खेती. बहुत सारे young बच्चे लीज के ऊपर लैंड ले रहे हैं जिसको हमारे चेंबर मदद कर रहा है और वो बच्चे आगे कल्टीवेशन कर रहे हैं ऑर्गेनिक खेती के एंड दे आर कमिंग इन अ वेरी बिग वे बिकॉज अगर भोजन होगा तो सब कुछ एंड द अदर डे आई वाज ज़ैप्ड व्हेन समबडी आस्क्ड मी अ क्वेश्चन कि अंकल एक बात बताइए इंडिया के अंदर स्टेट हाईवे है नेशनल हाईवे है सब कुछ है आपके दोनों तरफ प्लांटेशन है तो आप लोगों ने ऐसे ही पेड़ क्यों उगा रखे हैं इनकी जगह आपने फ्रूट ट्रीज क्यों नहीं लगाए मैंने कहा बात तो तुम्हारी ठीक है कहता है कि अगर वहां पर फ्रूट ट्रीज लगे होते तो मोदी जी को किसी को खाने देने की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ती जो लोग पैदल अपने घर जा रहे थे और पैदल चल रहे थे किसी भी सिटी से वो रास्ते में ही वहां से फल को तोड़ते उसको खाते और आगे चल पड़ते I think it was so logical. I understood. The other day, IS officer who resigned after 11 years of service from the government of India, and he's running one of the most successful entrepreneurship now institute that is called the Entrepreneurship School in Gurugram in India. He came out with a lot of strategy and he says, we need youngsters who should come forward and they should start their ventures in organic farming. Ladies and gentlemen, anything related to animal husbandry or organic kheti, if you do it, future is bright. You will not have any problem, no difficulties. What all is going on in the different forms of education, you've got to understand people are not getting the right information because basically the farmers, they are the one, those have to be felicitated, facilitated, and they have to be given a salutation. I come from the armed forces and I understand it very well because any change is always having a resistance. So, well, it's okay. People will understand over a period of time. Second part is herbal and health. मैं थोड़े दिन पहले अमेरिका में when I'm teaching over there for 2 months and I go to United States. So there's a gentleman, he's a Punjabi. His name is Tim Grover. If you meet him, he was a coach with Michael Jordan. उसकी किताब भी है, उसको भी कभी पढ़िएगा. And he says 99% of the time people spend in the gym on their body, whereas even if they spend 10% of that time on their mental robustness. And that's why when I look back and I always understand कि army, navy, air force, paramilitary, territorial army, इसके अंदर सबसे पहले mental toughness क्यों देते हैं? आपको mentally robust क्यों करते हैं? Always remember, if you're mentally tough, you will not fall sick, your body will follow. Because whatsoever is your mental faculty giving you, if you're mentally strong, you will not have any physical ailment or physical problem. Even if you have, it will go away after some time because your body is going to absorb that and it's going to resist that very badly. So thereby you got to understand that you got to mentally happy, you got to be mentally robust and tough. Then only you can have a wellness and you can have good health. Third part is education will never get back to January, February, what it used to be. We all got to understand this entire coronavirus has brought the whole thing as a tsunami. This was to come in different phases. But when I talk to different corporate world over in the different countries through my chamber, I get an inputs and I get an idea. All the corporate world over are deliberating that why do we depend on education ecosystem of schools, colleges, institutions? why not we should open our own skill centers, because जो बच्चे हमारे पास आज भी आ रहे हैं उन बच्चों को हमें अभी अपस्किल करना होता है, रीस्किल करना होता है। वो बच्चे डायरेक्टली हमारे कॉर्पोरेट के पास एब्जॉर्ब नहीं हो पाते। These kind of an inputs, and if you know the Google, the IBM, the Netflix, and Bank of America, and for that matter, a couple of other institutions world over, McDonald's, all these people have already decided that they are not going to go for the degree programs and all those. They will not wait. They're calling the youngsters directly to the institution. So there's a beautiful video you must see. It is called Education Nightmare on the YouTube. Those are watching this particular program. After this program, please go on the YouTube and watch that Education Nightmare. That video, when you will see, you will come to know what is the future of education. That we have to understand. So sustainable development, B2B, back to basics, that is the future we got to understand. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the last slide. Whatsoever human mind can conceive and it can believe, it can achieve. सबसे पहले आइडिया निकालिए, आइडिया में बिलीव कीजिए और उसके बाद उसको अचीव कर लीजिए, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. Let's come together for making education relevant. Global confluence of the educators, motivators, technocrats, counselors, wellness experts, corporate, government administrators, decision makers. All of us, we got to get together. Education की responsibility सिर्फ teachers की नहीं है. Education की responsibility पूरे ecosystem में हम सब की है और हमको education system को empower करना होगा. Education has to be realistic. Education should have relevance with day-to-day life. I lost one of my friends recently during this Corona period. That was Sir Ken Robinson. He died in UK. If you go through his videos, there are more than 400 videos. Do watch. And he says, do school skill creativity. And he talks education, institution as a death valley. So thereby, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to understand 30% of the parents are deciding that post-corona, they will have homeschooling, particularly in America and other countries. At the same time, 11 million girls are already planning to drop out. So there is a lot to be done. Seamless connectivity has to be provided. Basic gadgets have to be provided. So I was telling you, the education system will not get into the four walls again. It has moved ahead from there. Education has become transparent. Education has become accountable. Every penny which parents would pay, they would ask what my child is going to get because of this education. So that is something very important. So this evening, ladies and gentlemen, these are the stars of today evening. These are the 5 stars, and every evening, so we extend a very hearty welcome to Kritika and Paruchuri, and then we have got Vaishnavi, we have got Rachna, and we have got Aishwarya, and their questions are going to be something very interesting. What's the purpose of education? What's the role of technology in today's education? What does today's youth want? And then at the same time, how to create your dream project, and then how to make education relevant to our day-to-day life. And I'm grateful to Colonel K.C. Menon, who's a regional advisor, South India, and he looks after the chamber in India. And this is his cell number, and this is his email ID. All the principals, educators, counselors, teachers, please send your children like these 5 stars of the evening. The whole world will see them this evening. Similar way, your children, your school children, your college children, your education ecosystem, those are there. Let's get these youngsters to the frontal seat. These millennials are brilliant. They have got a lot of creativity. They have a lot of ideas. And I am with these kids because they are fantastic. They have got so much of ideas for future. We got to do the hand holding and support them. So ladies and gentlemen, with these 5 stars of the evening, we have got the distinguished guest and the speaker. We have got Mr. Mitul Dikshit, the chairman of the Dikshant chain of schools. Mr. Mitul Dikshit is a photographer, cultural activist, and an educationist. We extend him a very hearty welcome this evening. He is also the producer and festival director of Chandigarh Literature and Film Festival, which is a rare festival that looks in depth at both cinema and literature through the prism of extraordinary individual works. As the president, International Space Society, He has been promoting space science in India. Ladies and gentlemen, that is something, the key word which we got to take on. His love for adventure and travel is brought to life through his photography. Now, me and Mr. Mithul, I think we have got a lot in common. When I talk about his festival and when I talk about his film festival, I have been taking Mr. Yash Chopra all the way to Switzerland. We took Rakesh Roshan for his film to Singapore, and we took him to New Zealand and a couple of other places, and lots of other people like Korea for the first time. And when we talk about film festival, the Punjabi Film Festival, when we talk about Chandigarh, I think Ram Nivasji, the late Ram Nivasji, he started something very good at the Tagore Theatre, I still recollect. And our chairman is Mr. Manmohan Singh, who used to be cinematographer with Yash Chopra ji, and he started beautiful Punjabi films. Those are watching from world over. If you understand Punjabi, it's fine. If you don't understand, just laugh over. Asanu Man Watna da, Yara Nal Baharam, Dil Apna Punjabi, Ek Kuri Punjab di, Mitti Waja Mardi, Munde UK De, Phir Munde UK De. These are the Punjabi films which Manmohan Singh ji has done. He brought a new wave into the Punjabi cinema. He's our chairman for media entertainment department, and we are proud of him. His film is waiting, which was supposed to be released in month of March, but now because of this pandemic, things have got late. His love for adventure and travel is brought to life through his photography. An avid traveler, he has traveled all the 7 continents, including Antarctica. That's a wonderful experience, on which his coffee table book named Antarctica-Gods Own Canvas, great, which is being published by Roli Publishers. His diverse education and varied work and a wide range of skills have opened doors to places and people that others might not encounter. It was in 2002 he decided to set up Dikshant International School and expand it to more schools. Ladies and gentlemen, I also share with all of you, when I set up India's first tourism institute for the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, in the education fraternity named as IITTM, Indian Institute of Travel and Tourism Management. And when I drafted the new policy and I drafted the whole program, MBA Tourism in India, way back in 1988, I always believed music plays very important role in education. Music therapy is very important, and now gamification is very important. So during this coronavirus, I just wish to share with all of you for 2 minutes this particular song with the new education policy which our chamber has done, and we dedicate to the whole world, we dedicate to the nation. We have sent across to the Ministry of Education and to the Honorable Prime Minister of India and to all the education stakeholders. You got to remember Nalanda, Takshila, and Vikramshila, what India was, how India was Vishwaguru, what was happening, 10,000 students, 2,000 acharyas, you name a subject on this planet. And there was a song like, Jahan Dal Dal Par Sone Ki Chidiya Karti Hai Basera, Wo Bharat Desh Hai Mera. So ladies and gentlemen, ride the journey from that country. This song is dedicated to the whole world.
आगे बढ़कर सबका ही कल्याण करो, भारत का सम्मान करो, भारत का सम्मान करो। आर्यभट्ट से उज्जवल शिक्षक पूर्ण जगत में छा जाओ, आर्यभट्ट से उज्जवल शिक्षक पूर्ण जगत में छा जाओ, श्रेष्ठ वर्ग के तारे बनकर अपना नाम भी चमकाओ। विश्व गुरु बनना है भारत, भारत का सम्मान करो, विश्व गुरु बनना है भारत, भारत का सम्मान करो। शिक्षा के पथ पे आगे बढ़कर, शिक्षा के पथ पे आगे बढ़कर सबका ही कल्याण करो। शंखनाद से सकल जगत में गौरव में गुणगान करो, गगन कल्पना एपीजे कलाम और भगत सिंह बन जाओ, साहस भर के झांसी जैसा जीवन का बलिदान करो। गगन कल्पना एपीजे कलाम और भगत सिंह बन जाओ, साहस भर के झांसी जैसा जीवन का बलिदान करो। विश्व गुरु बनना है भारत, भारत का सम्मान करो, विश्व गुरु बनना है भारत, भारत का सम्मान करो, भारत का सम्मान करो, भारत का सम्मान करो, भारत का सम्मान करो, भारत का सम्मान करो।
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the song dedicated to all my entire 30 million non-resident Indians, the Government of India, the Ministry of Education, and all the people, those are in different stakeholders, directly or indirectly associated in the education system. So with these words, we extend a hearty welcome to all of you this evening, and I extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Mitul Dikshit, the main speaker of the evening, the main star of the evening. Let him share his vision and his views with all of us, ladies and gentlemen. So with these words, I extend you a very hearty welcome, Mr. Mitul Dikshit ji. You're mute, sir. Mute. Your mic is mute.
Very good evening to all, and thank you for getting me on this show, which has been running for quite some time. And after 34 years, we have a new education policy. So going through some of the key highlights of the new education policy. The first thing is a personal anecdote which I would like to share, that I started schooling from grade 2. The reason was because my father was at the Sindhya school, Gwalior, and which was a boarding school, and it started from grade 3 onwards. And it was it's set up on almost 400 feet above the city in Gwalior. So we didn't have any kindergarten education. But yet I did have homeschooling. I had a tutor coming in and coming to teach. The first thing when I saw with the change from 10 plus 2 to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, I said, thank you. You know, at least I can justify, because when we started the school in 2002, it started from pre-nursery till class 10th. Every year the school was being graded. And I somehow felt very guilty about, why do children have to go through this whole process of kindergarten education? Because it was not defined. And learning through, I understood from the way the schools around would project about playway method of learning and the way they would advertise. I never understood what playway method was, because it was more about comparisons from schools to various parents, comparing amongst themselves that what has your child learned at a different school, a neighborhood school. So there were schools which would teach 1 to 10, 1 to 50. There were schools which would teach 1 to 100. So the most, I think it's justifiable now to run this kindergarten or pre-primary education. And thank God that it has come late, but they've tried to define what kindergarten education should be, the parameters. Because at some point of time, it's not that, the schools, there has been, change has been very fast. And the way we look at things, maybe a city, where I live, that's Chandigarh, Panchkula, I would say that there was a point of time when we would talk about, in the early years, about, 10 साल पहले चंडीगढ़ कैसा होता था, या 10 साल पहले पंचकुला कैसा होता था. Over the years, it became 5 साल. After that, it became साल भर. And now, if you have people visiting quite frequently, I would say every 6 months, you would see change. That's how fast the change has been. So, seeing that change, talking about that change, it's been too long that it's taken us 34 years to draft a new education policy. But I do disagree with, I do understand that in the past couple of years, there have been a number of changes. With the CBSE started with, at least with the CBSE board, they started with the CCE program in the previous government. But interestingly, it was a very well-defined program in terms of, continuous comprehensive evaluation program. But my thoughts about that was, initially when they got away with the board exams in grade 10, I did happen to interact with people from the CBSE, and when an organization has, people who've worked with an organization for a number of years, I did happen to interact with the regional officer at that point of time. And while it was coming into practice, I realized that it might not work for our education system. The reason was because there were a lot of doubts in the minds of, regional officer of CBSE is one of the key position holders. The way, CBSE has been, divided into different zones. And the kind of comments which came in were very, very shocking, and I could understand that. And this this also comes from the fact that we as a country have a lot of disparity. We are spread geographically, we are spread in a way which is not always possible for us for one region to reach out to the rest of the country within a short span. So that's something, it worked for a couple of years, 4 or 5 or 6 years. But let me tell you, coming to the point, I have my own doubts that the number of schools, and that's not about the board, but the way, our education system has been set up, that I can be sure that none of the schools, it would be hardly out of 100 CBSE schools, I think only 5% of the schools would have actually gone through the whole comprehensive continuous evaluation program. So it seems that, if I look at the key highlights of the new education policy 2020, they seem to be very exciting. But how do we put it in practice? How do we practically put it across our schools is something that has to be really looked at. But I would say that a number of schools over a period of time I've had a journey with the schools for almost 19 years now. And I have seen a lot of change coming in. And we've always followed the British pattern of education, even if you look at the boarding schools or the schooling or education around. We followed the British pattern, and somehow over the years, that's where rote learning came from. Over the years, there have been a number of changes in education worldwide. So it's kind of good that we have a policy in place, but it entirely depends upon how schools, how our undergraduate colleges, our universities are, and how are we going to apply or probably make it practically applicable within our schools and universities. Taking an example of, there are some, but definitely, with the opportunity of, mixing subjects, looking at, co-curricular activities, the emphasis, and the subject choice. I can take an example of my daughter, who is doing her cinematic studies from the University of Southern California. And with the pandemic coming in, being with journalism and both cinema as her major subjects, the challenge was because if you do not practically attend those classes, you end up, that's something which is a specialization, because you have to learn. You have to make use of the equipment which is there at the university, and also about a lot of practical things in those subjects. So what I realized that during this semester, when she is in India and taking these online classes, she decided to take subjects, the other subjects which are compulsory in the 4-year graduation program. And I was surprised that the other day, I realized that she's taken astronomy as one of the subjects. So the kind of, what I'm trying to say, with this example, is the kind of opportunities when we talk about the important subjects in education. When we are doing, even if we might be doing a specialization, but then also the general academic subjects are so important. And there is a lot of, if I look at the school rankings, if I look at the rankings in education, we don't stand, India doesn't stand in the top 10 of school education. And neither. I mean, we all know about with the QS rankings and other rankings that I think one of the IITs would come in 375th rank, or my apologies if that rank is wrong, but nothing above 375, which is a shame. Now, what is it that there's a lot of talks about, and the good change about university education is, of course, college education is that, I mean, they have broken it down into 1 year you get a scholar. Let me just browse through it.
1 year is certificate, 2 years is diploma, 3 years is a degree. That is the thing they have given in the higher education. Yeah.
So coming back, taking a break after 1 year and joining back is something, which is very interesting. And taking the subjects of your choice is something, which is forcefully going to make these changes more practical and applicable. Interestingly, there has been since I come from a university where a lot of research has been happening over the past so many years about, that's the Harvard Graduate School of Education, Harvard University. And one of the research, which were one of the projects and research which has always been of a lot of interest, has been about, the correlation of music and mathematics. So when we talk about music and mathematics, this project, this research was done on, introducing children to music, taking a scan of the brain, and then introducing children to music, and then after 6 months, the relevance of, what they learned during music lessons, the impact on their performance in mathematics. And there are number of examples where such kind of research has been happening. So this whole correlation with these subjects can be redefined if the schools or colleges look at interesting ways, because I always believe that an education policy is one part of it. And as I said, there are a lot of schools, there are a lot of universities, good universities which have come in the past couple of years. And if we look at the private universities which have come in, their intake, if I talk about Ashoka University, year before last, it was interestingly, their criteria for the intakes for the university was spread over. They were looking at, it was not only based upon the academic result, they were also looking at kids from different parts of India and the world. And also, it was more upon, they were following the same process of admissions to international university. You go through a process of giving your SAT scores, taking your SAT scores, TOEFL, and writing your essays, interviews. So it was not based entirely upon the academic results. What I would like to emphasize is, and somebody, I asked me a couple of years back, I was back at my 25th, the school reunion, 25th school reunion, and I got an opportunity to address the assembly going back. And it was just 5 minutes, gathering your thoughts, gathering my thoughts to address the school assembly, It was a very proud moment. It was a very happy moment. And I thought about it just before speaking. And I said, one thing that I learned and probably loved about my school, the Sindhya School Gwalior, it gave me a happy childhood. So when I talk about that happy childhood, and when I spoke about it, and afterwards, it just came into my mind, all those memories of, studying at the school. Besides that, when I thought about it later on, after I spoke, I realized that in class 10th, I just managed, and then that was my target, at that point of time as a student. I guess a lot of students are also here listening to us. I realized that I only looked at, getting the first division or 60%. And I planned it that I was not looking to score above 60%. And I managed to get 60.4%. The logic was that I knew that I did not want to unnecessarily focus on rote learning. I knew that I would continue in the same school in grade 11th, and it's not going to affect my university education. So when you think about these uh, anecdotes, you realize what has been going wrong with our education. Of course, I did manage to get a reasonably good percent in grade 12. I knew that I had to get admission into a good college, so I did manage to score 84%, which was besides my national sports certificates and everything. I did manage to get into a good college. That was Hindu College, Delhi University. Why I'm talking about it is that it's not about trying to talk about my own achievements or my own things, but this is how with these anecdotes I'm able to relate to people about how uh, marks have been important, why they have been important. That has to be figured out, because you can't get into a good university if you don't get good marks in grade 12th. So with the new universities coming in, the whole purpose, the whole uh, selection criteria has changed, and that's a good sign. I do see that a number of uh, good foreign universities would be. I mean, the government is opening good universities to set up their campuses in India, which is a very good initiative. Because let me talk about China as a country. Uh, India had an edge, and Indians had an edge on IT jobs. When we talk about the IT jobs in US, because we were the largest English non English speaking nation, besides our mother tongue not being English. And over the years, last 10 years, I saw that change with a number of boarding schools from UK, some very, very prestigious schools like Harrow and Wellington and others setting up their campuses in China, which made a lot of difference to the Chinese education, where they were challenged, as far as conversing in English was concerned. So that's how I relate, with this opening up of international universities and inviting those international universities, and also prominent universities from India making, setting up their campuses abroad. The other thing is, when we talk about the national education policy and as a document, interestingly, another anecdote is about when I was in a discussion, a didact discussion the other day with a couple of, it was a roundtable closed discussion with a number of 5 or 6 principals from around reputed schools from different zones, and a couple of specialists coming in. Now, a specialist talked about from Bangalore, talked about, bringing in multiple intelligence theory, and Dr. Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence theory. And after listening to everybody, I said, how many of us know that Dr. Howard Gardner, and unfortunately, Dr. Howard Gardner was a professor of mine at Harvard. And I had to mention that, how many of you past 10 years have heard Dr. Howard Gardner talking about multiple intelligence theory? He championed the multiple intelligence theory, but he doesn't speak about the theory. Uh, I haven't heard him speaking about the multiple intelligence theory for the past 10 years. And it's about wellness and happy and wellness curriculum. So when I spoke about it, one of the principals later on pointed out that why do we need a wellness and a happiness curriculum? Because you can't define wellness and happiness. And then when he talked about the initiatives he's taking in his school, one of them was about the internship program, which he started. And he gave this example of his daughter, who wanted to become a doctor. He started with the internship program with, sending 30, 35 kids to a local hospital in Bhopal. And he said, at the end of the day, after 5 days, visiting the hospital, my daughter came back and said, I don't want to become a doctor. So when we talk about the internship program, we might call it the internship program, but it's not the internship program which is required. I mean, in grade 9th, yes, it is important for us to introduce internship program, but the interface with the industry, the internship program has to be well defined. It can't be sending your kids to a hospital and calling it an internship program. You have to get experts, you have to get the industry to interface with your school kids, your staff, importantly staff. And it's going to, it might help, when we talk about these corporate heads, these people who've excelled in their life and profession, to interact about their own growing up years, their experiences, what made them, take up the profession and what makes them enjoy the profession. So the reason for my talking about the internship program is that we might call something an internship program, but it might not work in schools. We just call it the internship program, but we don't effectively implement an internship program. So I came back to him and I said, when you send your daughter or children or probably was in grade 9 for an internship program to a hospital for 5 days, that's the reason children and schools need a happiness and well-being curriculum. Because you're trying to put unnecessary stress on children, making them decide upon, too early about, what they want to do, and it's not going to help. So it creates that kind of a stress that, I have to be a doctor, so I have to go to a hospital. And in this context, if you look at how we implement the new education policy and make the most out of it and understand it, is going to be what is going to be important of what we are going to achieve from it. When I talked about the CBSE, I know 95% of, I might be repetitive, but 95% of the people or the schools would have not even read through the whole booklet or the whole probably program. And how do we put everything, which is maybe well defined, but it is to each person's understanding of how you implement it. Because the kind of pressure, the kind of stress today we've built in with comparisons, we tend to compare our children with others. We tend to create that kind of it's become a social status for us and the achievements of our children. Whereas in schooling, I think it is important. I mean, there is I mean, it's the only thing which I see is that it has been well defined in terms of co-curricular activities. I think in a schooling system, probably what we do at our school, and trust me, I'm not trying to market my school. It's just a thought that I'm sharing. We do we do give a lot of opportunity for children to understand music. If we take music as a subject, music as a way of life, and where does it come from? I happen to be visiting, Eton College. That's one of the most prestigious public schools of UK. Uh, People talk about, people talk about the pass outs, and I would say, I was very impressed with seeing that bench of, Saint Columbus, uh, the name of Saint Columbus being etched by a compass. So there's nothing wrong with, writing your names on all those students who are seeing this. Maybe, your bench is also one day going to be preserved. So when I saw that, I mean, when I visited the school, I realized there were 80 teachers, music teachers, giving one-to-one lesson to each of each of the children. 80 specialist instrumentalists, working on one-to-one. So I happened to ask Dr. Little that time, who was the headmaster. I said, "What do the other children do? What do they learn during the music programs, music lessons?" One, with these specialists coming in, they do go on to create their own music and become professional musicians. The rest of the people, rest of the kids, at least understand what good music is in a music class, because they are introduced to that music. It's not that if all the children go to the music class, all of them are going to become world-class musicians. But that whole idea of understanding good music, whether it could be Western classical, it could be Indian classical, different genres of music. But I always, whenever I interviewed a music teacher, I always said, and it's very, very, I always felt and I always commented, look, I am not a musician, but let me tell you, कि अगर तुम बेसुरा गाओगे तो मैं बता दूंगा यार बॉस तुम बेसुरा गा रहे हो. That's what I learned at school. So similarly, it goes with arts. And this temperament, when we talk about the temperament, the scientific temperament, what the national education policy has been talking about, the temperament, I mean, introducing a lot of innovation and creativity. We're talking about, music and other co-curricular activities. We're talking about coding. Somebody said, I don't understand, why coding has been introduced. And I said, did you take maths in grade 11? He said, yes. I said, have you used calculus in your daily life? And this conversation, thank God, was a round table with the principals. And he said, no. What does that mean? I said, coding might be today's mathematics, which we need to understand. My daughter, who's doing her journalism, has to learn coding to have her own website, create her own website. So when we look at things which can be done at the school level or the university level, I mean, we are in the right direction. It's entirely up to us. It does talk about the autonomy also within the next couple of years, 10 years, 8 years, the autonomy of the college and universities increasing and removal of the deemed university. But interestingly, I'll tell you that it's on papers, but we have the Punjab education minister coming in before the close down and saying no school, no fees. So where do you leave that autonomy with the schools? I mean, it's not to name the minister or the government or anybody, But when an education minister says that no fee has to be charged by the schools, where is the autonomy? How do the schools run? Do we have government aid for the schools? For private schools? No. So in the larger interest, when we talk about autonomy, I mean, if you look at the top education systems in the world, and I do have a ranking which with me about various comparing. I made these notes about before coming to the session about the various education systems and their rankings, the good things about their education system, and the rankings are. And if we talk most efficient education system, we have Finland ranked number 1, Korea number 2, Czech Republic. Then we have Hungary, Japan, New Zealand, Slovenia, Australia, Sweden, and Iceland. And when I talk about these rankings, I talk about it's the basic education system, not about the universities. And whereas the university rankings has US, and then UK comes at number 3, number 2 is Switzerland. So what is there in their education system which makes them special? Singapore, if you look at Singapore as a country, they revamped their education system in 1980s, and it was more about taking into consideration, because it was a new country, and they took a lot of industry interface to make those changes. Finland is more about Finland. If I talk about Finland, children are not allowed to write till the age of 14. What do? They have a lot of emphasis on creativity. They have a lot of emphasis on learning by doing. I mean, you would find a lot of kids engaged with opening up. I mean, a group of children would buy an old car, open everything, and then reassemble it. What is the purpose? The purpose is they work in groups, and they have an understanding of learning by doing. And it becomes it becomes easier for the industry to employ those children passing out and graduating, rather than what we've always focused and emphasized upon, the rote learning. I've been into a corporate career before I started, and I passed out of IIM Calcutta, and I was on the job. And after years, couple of years, my advice to all the fresh graduates, I mean, and even the juniors coming out of initial years, juniors coming out, was that it's the most painful process to de-learn what you have learned at a management institute, and that goes for school, that goes for majority of the schools, that goes for majority of the colleges. Why does that happen? It's because what we learn during all these years is not relevant. It's not about it's not relevant in terms of the initial years. When you go practically and work in different workspaces, it's entirely different. So what is it that we can teach our children? Most importantly, I think the most important thing is to learn to think. And that has to start from the school education, out of box thinking, innovation. And trust me, when I talk about innovation, when I talk about creativity, when I talk about all this, there's no set process of learning to think. I mean, it's not something I can't run a course in a school to think. I would have to devise ways where, you know, probably we test children on thinking skills, stimulate their thinking process, introducing them to a lot of, uh, introducing them early to the reading program, introducing them to good literature. And yesterday evening, you know, I was with the vice president Sahitya Academy, who also happens to be the chairperson Chandigarh Sahitya Academy, and we were talking about one of the incidents, you know, where he was visiting the uh, the book fair at Kochi, which is one of the biggest footfalls, which has the biggest footfalls. And he said, you know, he was talking about Dr. Tharoor, Dr. Shashi Tharoor with him, and he mentioning, you know, that look at this guy in Kerala at Kochi. He was wearing a normal lungi, which would be worth 50 bucks, wearing, you know, slippers which would not cost more than 70 rupees. And he said, just watch this guy get into the book fair, and his whole value, if you look at the commercial value of, you know, what he's wearing, he would be carrying books worth thousands of rupees. So literature also introducing, you know, to a good reading program, and, you know, looking at, you know, introducing children to good literature is another important part that, you know, needs to be focused upon in schools. So there's so much to do in our schools to make the process, I mean, the whole process of learning more interesting and more involved for the children. But at some point of time, you know, when we talk about, it's important that, you know, children need to know what to do. But even after so many years, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And majority of us, you know, don't know, probably don't find our happiness. You talked about, you know, wellness. Dr. Gulshan Sharma talked about wellness and happiness. And when are we going to learn it? It has to come from schools. You would never get time at colleges or probably university, you know, education. So these are certain things, you know, which probably, you know, schools need to rethink about. I think it's been, you know, COVID by default, you know. I know all of us have gone through this pandemic, but has thrown us a challenge, I think has given us an opportunity, which probably, you know, in terms of, you know, the digitalization of learning or digital learning is such an interesting thing, because it's self-learning. We've been forced to come out of, you know, rote learning. You know, it took me 5 minutes to get into the camera, getting my screen. And I always say, you know, I forget about it, you know, with the webinars, that my 14-year-old puts a tape on the camera so that the teachers can't see him. And I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it at home when I see children learning. It's not necessary that children sit in the classroom and do their, I mean, give an answer to their teachers, and that's how the teachers evaluate them. There's so many children, you know, who might just listen to what is happening around, and they have good comprehension abilities. I can't watch a YouTube and, you know, probably learn to fly a drone, which my kid can. So when your child, that's particularly when a child learns, I mean, the kind of learners we have amongst children, these days. And the kind of, the gap which we had is by default uh, decreasing. And at least in the last 6 months, when the schools came online and it's online learning, by default, we have made a correction, and we have to look at it from a very positive perspective. Now, by force, we are forced to make children, self-learners. So it's a great start to look at the national education policy. It seems very, very interesting. The kind of changes which our education system needed, they are on papers. They are that's something, because it's not that there are some certain things, the kind of gap we have among schools spread over. I mean, and we have to understand that we have this nation, India, has a lot of gap. I mean, a school, that's something, where even an examination, a CD of an examination paper, I do remember it was difficult for CBSE to send it while the CC was in place, to send them examination papers and reach. I mean, it was difficult to make those CDs reach a place, a remote place in Leh. So with the states, with different states, with the different socio-economic cultures, statuses, no one thing is going to work. But we need to keep on innovating. We need to keep on looking at, we need to keep on checking on the documentation, the whole documentation, and understand the new national education policy. I mean, at least that, I mean, it has come in place after 34 years, and the intention is that it's going to be a gradual change that we look at. It's not going to be an overnight change, and it's not that learning has not been happening. I'm not trying to say that learning has not been happening. We have exceptional talent this country has produced, but the only difference is they've been self-learners. We don't forcefully, make them or teach them in a way that they become the way they are. So one thing very, very common, which is always going to remain, is for schools to look at, teaching children to think. And that's the most important thing. So thank you, Dr. Gulshan Sharma, for having me. And I hope I've made some sense.
Very much. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Mitulji, for coming for this program, because for quite some time we were waiting for it. And because you are running an institution, there's a practical part of it. Now, it's a sheer coincidence you gave the musical notes, which I was not aware of, because somewhere at the age of 70, I have realized when I started my journey from my mother's womb, and I keep asking my mom that, were you singing when I was about to be born? Were you enjoying the music at that point of time? Until date, my mom now, she's about 90 plus. And at 90 plus also today, when we all sit for dinner together or meals together, the music is on the dining table. What I have realized over the period and over the time, music is one thing today, because there's a paucity of time. Otherwise, I would have taken you in another discussion, the music and the mathematics, which you mentioned. I was very keen to know about it, but maybe on some other occasion. What exactly was the outcome and the finding of where the music was taught and mathematics was taught and all? Because as it is in today's IT, artificial intelligence, technology, it has been proved that Sanskrit has got a lot to do with the algorithm, and it has got a lot to do further. So I'm pretty sure somewhere, I'm not in a position to lay my hands on, that Tansen, when he used to sing and राग दीपक की बातचीत करते थे, तो दीपक जल जाते थे. तो म्यूजिक का कुछ तो है बॉडी के अंदर. और जब मैं डोपामिन की बात करता हूँ, किसी और चीज की बातचीत करता हूँ, and I personally feel when you listen to a good music, when you enjoy music, it gives you a altogether different kind of a feeling. You remain positive, you remain energetic. I'm 70-year-old now, and it's a beautiful journey of my life, coming from the armed forces, coming to tourism, coming to hospitality, coming to airlines, and having traveled all this kind of thing. I have not tasted even a beer in my life. I'm a pure vegetarian. I get up at 3:30 and I sleep at 9 o'clock. That has kept me young as 15-year-old boy. My thought process is that of 15-year-old. I personally feel the mind, because everything starts from here. We were also very keen to know about your Dikshant school. I wanted to know, but maybe some other occasion. So some closing remarks we will take from you in a little while. If you have 5, 6 minutes, I've got 5 young kids. Let's hear them. Let's listen to them. What do they want to share with the universe and what they want to? And thereafter, we will have your concluding remarks.
Fine.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a proud privilege. And we got this evening 5 of our kids. So, let me invite them one by one. And we have got Paruchuri. Paruchuri, let's start with you, child. Let's share your vision with the whole universe. What do you wish to share, Paruchuri? What do you want to tell the whole world this evening?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Parachuri Anahita, a final year MSc Dietetics and Applied Nutrition student at Vaksha, Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Karnataka. So today I'm going to talk about the role of technology in present education system. Technology has taken root in every field and especially in education sector. In my opinion, technology is much important in modern education as it enhances the relation between a student and a teacher and also saves time. It also reduces the usage of paper, which in turn is an effective way to conserve environment. When using a laptop or a smartphone or a computer with internet capability, I can access anything online and I'm not restricted in my learning. It is portable, easy to carry, and everything is there in one place. Studying in Manipal is totally technology driven, be it in studies or exam. And utilizing this technology, I'm glad that I have done certificate courses offered by universities overseas, attended webinars, which helps me in better learning. In this time where everything is changed, technology helps me to stay in touch with the college with regard to my academics, and we can see that technology is evolving at a rapid pace and we are completely relying on it. All the technology is very important in modern education. I still feel that it doesn't give us the classroom experience, and the main problem we all face is the internet connectivity issues. And in conclusion, I would also like to say that, like other things, technology has its own pros and cons. It has traveled a long way and it helps in not only academics but every part of life, and still has to like travel a long way. So thank you, sir, for
Thank
this
you.
opportunity. Yeah.
God bless you. God bless you. It was wonderful to have you. I hope all the short-term courses, what you have done, you have not paid any money for that. Huh? You have done all complimentary courses, no?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. So our college is sponsoring for this Coursera, so I have done courses there.
Okay. I would make a humble request to all the children. Your city and college, I think that universe is not interested to know. We are more interested to know about you, about your program, about your hobbies, about your passion, and whatsoever you want to share with the world. May I now request Rachna ma'am? Rachna, child, please come. Good evening,
Good,
Rachna.
eve- Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, you are visible, everything is fine, and I hope you are happy.
Yes, sir. Yes, I am happy.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Rachana, student of MSc Dietetics and Applied Nutrition. So I'm going to talk about a very big question of all the time. Um, that is how to create your dream career. Um, I think getting into a prestigious college, get a good grades, and yeah, get a good job. These are the words we heard going on. And I always think, and most of the young students have the questions like, why most of the film actors or most of the entrepreneurs we have seen or we have heard of are college dropouts, and why a girl who just faints hearing the word blood choose MBBS as a career. And I always think why one of my friend who was a great artist during her college on school days choose to or opt for science when she could have chosen fine arts, and why? I think it happens with the most of us because we actually don't know what is our passion and in which area we are good at, and who we really have to listen to, or whose dream we have to fulfill. Is it of us or our parents or the societies? And I wonder what one will do with the job which only gives a good monthly package with a good social prestige, but in which you don't have access to put your own creativity, talent, or your interest, and end of the day, which doesn't give you uh, satisfaction or happiness. I think everyone has to ask that question to themselves. Therefore, I think finding out your passion and making the decision at the very beginning will have a great impact on the future. um, I always think, and most of the speakers also give this as an example. If MS Dhoni's parents or he himself has chosen to become a singer or and a great singer like SP Balasubramaniam has chosen to become a cricketer, I think their life would have been very different. So I think one has to think, like Sir said, one has to learn thinking. Um, one has to think and find out what they want to give to their self, and they have to rule out all the uh, distractions that comes across, and they have to decide and do what they love, and that will definitely lead to their dream career and dream life. Like people always say, your time is yours, and you will have what you decide for yourself. WhatsApp status I saw today morning, and I felt it was really true. I hope the upcoming education system will provide the same what thing the students really want, and I hope one student never regret his academics or his education at some point of time. So thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
Wonderful, 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 Rachna. God bless
Thank
you. God
thank
bless
you.
you. Okay, Kritika. Kritika, good evening, great evening, child.
Good evening, sir.
No,
Am
your
I?
volume. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, child. No, no, no. Audio. Yeah. No, audio is giving trouble, child. Audio is giving trouble. It was all right initially. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. Be patient. I can get you again. No problem. Take your time. I'll get you again. Ashwarya. Ashwarya. Ashwarya.
So can you hear me?
Yes, child. Great evening, beta.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. I'm Aishwarya, final year MSc Dietetics and Applied Nutrition student at Vaksha, Manipal. Today I'll be talking on how to make education relevant. I strongly believe that learning or education for that matter can be made relevant and more efficient by its application. And as students, we all have this question that how and when will I use this learning in the real world? And honestly speaking, this is an important question that needs to be addressed in order to make education relevant. And when theoretical knowledge is practically applied, it enhances, say, critical thinking, problem solving, and also in the better understanding of the topic. And establishing relevance in education can be achieved by many different ways. say for describing or explaining how theory is applicable in practicality, or by establishing relevance to our local cases or local issues, or even by referring to related materials to know what are the day-to-day requirements. And one can achieve this by connecting student with the community, what is the community's requirement. And I believe that education which involves personal relevance or personal connection for that matter helps in the better resonating with the topic. And learning with relevance in learning is that crucial point which lies between what one wants to say and what one is interested in listening for that matter. And I believe the process of application of the topics in education system will bridge the gap between these two sides. So that's it, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Aishwarya. Vaishnavi,
Yes, sir.
Vaishnavi, yeah,
Yes,
no
sir.
switch, no city, directly to your work. Yes.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. My question is about what does today's youth want?
Okay. What
So,
does youth want? Yes.
so
Very
I would want to start with a quote where the person should, like whomever it is, they should not try to become someone someday. Instead, they should start being someone they are today. That's what the thing starts with. Like if you accept yourself today, then the process starts, and then you'll get to know what you are. Then you'll get an opportunity what to do in your further life. And most of nowadays, I feel that uh, even though one of my friend told that you need to think about what you want to do, so start thinking. And I feel you should have a supportive society where everyone accepts you the way you are. The idea what you're coming up with, you should be able to present in front of everyone, so that you like the people also should support that, instead of telling in like they should be giving a positive approach towards that, instead of neglecting it completely, I feel. And as the new education policy, as sir have mentioned about it, uh, even apart from that, we have to even know about the life skills. Like we need to learn about the life skills from the school, starting from the school itself, like the survival in the world, how the children would survive in the world when it is necessary. And so many other things can be added in today's generation, I feel. And coming to the other thing I want to mention, where not only the marks, as we have seen from so many days, like we have seen from so many years, that marks are only the more thing people are concentrating on. The personal development skills are the main thing what today's world is needed. The thing what carries us till the end. No one remembers what we got in 10th or 12th standard, but the skill what is needed for us right now to get in something, and to get to start our business, or to get into a job, whatever it is, the way you communicate with the person, the personal development skill is the first thing that is needed. And before you go on any stage or talking like this, you have to kind of develop it from the schooling, I feel. Like eighth, or maybe it
uh,
should come from the start, not like when you have grown up, because that's too late for a person to understand it and go through the life about it.
wonderful. Wonderful. Life skills is very, very important. Yes.
Thank
Kritika.
you, sir.
Kritika, we can try once again, child, for you.
Yes, sir. Is it, am I audible now?
Yes, yes, yes. Please go ahead. Please
Okay. Yes, sir. So, my question is about,
bring mic little more nearer. Yes.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, my question is about, my question is something everybody should be asking themselves. What is the purpose of education? So,
What's the purpose of education? Yes. Okay.
so in my personal opinion, I think primarily education is necessary because it gives you a structured view, a structured path to learn something that you're passionate about. So as a child, you're offered various paths to choose from. You find a path and then you take that. And then there's a very organized approach if you do it thanks to education. So currently, there is a more broadened spectrum of career opportunities available. Importance of all fields is being understood, they're being appreciated. So being in a niche field myself, I'm able to get all the opportunities I need to succeed in my career. So a second point is that there is, as sir rightly said, there is an all-round development. There's a holistic approach. It's not restricted to academics alone. There is also importance given to extracurricular activities, which students can, in order to fuel interests of students. And there's also importance given to moral values, which are inculcated at a very tender age. So all in all, it's not just a very narrowed down approach. There's a very broad approach, and there is an all-round development of the child. There is also, of course, an economic aspect for it. So if I succeed in my career, I can fend for myself for later on. I can, in this world, I can survive. I can pay my own bills, etc. So all in all, like I said, what is the purpose of education? It's a question that everybody should be asking themselves primarily, instead of directly blindly going into it. And yes, these are the points that I rightly believe.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, sir.
Yes,
Thank you.
there is a definite specific purpose of education, child. Great. So now we will get Mr. Mitul Dikshit, and we get him right at the center stage. And all five of you, I would request you kindly switch on your cameras, because on the YouTube live, you are the global celebrity. You have worked so hard. You gave such a beautiful inputs, why education, role of technology, purpose of education, how to make education relevant, what is your dream project. Everybody has talked that way. So I would request all my five children, kindly switch on your cameras. And that is the way, if it's possible, we all can go. So Mithulji, let's have the concluding remarks from your side, and then we close today's session. Please go ahead.
I think wonderful.
We clap for all of them. Yes, you all deserve. Great.
Just Kritika, I just like that, about that the ability to pay your own bills.
Yes.
Is one very important aspect of it, because I think once you're able to pay your bills, you'll always be happy, doing what you want to do. But finding something which you're happy with and paying your bills is another way of it. So wonderful thoughts which came in terms of making wonderful remarks came in from all of you, and God bless you. That I am completely in awe of your generation. With the new education policy or not, I'm sure all of you are going to find your way, and all of you are going to be happy about what you're doing and enjoy what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So ladies and gentlemen, that was the session today. That is Mr. Mitul Dikshit and my five celebrities this evening, my children, my grandchildren, and they spoke so well, so good. So what is the purpose of education? Why to take education? Why to go to school? Why to go to college? Why to get a skill? And how to make education relevant? How technology is playing very important role? How to find happiness in the education? How basically to get your dream project of the education? So much being deliberated by all of them. Thank you very much for joining us. Look forward meeting you tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. for yet another wonderful session. A lot of things yet to discuss with Mr. Mitul Dikshit, but I think that we will take in the next session, because my thirst has been left quite a bit. What is the purpose of music? How music plays very important role, and music for happiness, music for life, music for living. And at the same time, we will also come, because he has got some wonderful projects which I have been told on science and space management and other things. And we will talk about his Dikshant school also. So with these words, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining from world over. Look forward